So in today's technology, our security and safety and keeping our records secure and all of that is very important. And so our next guest is going to give us some tips on like how to keep those things or the importance of keeping those things secure. So I hope that you will watch till the end. Hey, Giants, welcome. Today's guest is Steven Wright, and well, let me let him tell you about himself because you're going to be in awe. Okay. Hi, Steven, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Can you tell our listeners who you are and what you do?
Sure. So my name is Dr. Steven Wright. I'm a cybersecurity attorney, and I deal with the problems that are at the intersection of business and technology and law. And that usually means I spend a lot of time translating to different audiences what the heck is going on and trying to help them find their way out of it. Ideally, we'd like to help them plan for things so they don't get into the mess in the first place. We are where we are.
Yeah, things are getting more and more complicated. So, all right. So, as a business who serves local areas, okay, so we're talking about home service, people who depend on the near me search for Google, what some advice would you give them?
Well, number one, if you're depending on that, make sure that it works in the first place. It's your entries all in the system and it's performing as expected. The second piece is if you're relying on that, do you have internal IT systems that integrate with Google? So if people find you in the Google map, for example, do they then have to click on something in your IT systems to make things work for your business? And so that's your internal systems. Have you got those working? How much governance and assurance do you have around those programs? So if you're a Fortune 500 company, you've got teams of people that worry about compliance and IT integrity and all of these things. But your average mom and pop small business, local business with one location probably doesn't have that much in the way of infrastructure and IT support. So my biggest tip there is get some support, particularly for things like backups. So you all know you should do your antivirus and these other tools, but you also need to back up your systems. And you need to worry about how well your backups work when you try and restore the system. So if you've never actually tried to restore your system from your backups, that might be a good exercise to do this weekend. Okay. Just get that level of operational integrity in place, and then you can go on to bigger, better things from there.
Yeah, because it's a really, there are a lot more things online now, as far as QuickBooks is not one now that where you just store it on your computer and things like that. So there's a little more things that are online. Should we be concerned about things like that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Where to start? Yeah, you may be used to, or maybe most worried about supporting your laptop or whatever other IT systems you directly manage. But the problem is your business depends on a lot of things that you don't directly manage. So whether it's Google Gmail for email or all sorts of online SaaS services, if you've got an online login, that's a system you need to worry about and manage, even if it's as simple as the backup example before. So what happens if you lose the credentials? How do you get them back again? How long does it take you to do that? Getting all that stuff written down somewhere
Yeah.
is an embarrassing step that lots of folks haven't actually taken.
Yeah.
And the problem is, it's quite understandable because you get confronted all the time with new online systems that you need to get a login to do something, and you think you'll only use it once and it'll be a throwaway, but then you discover you keep needing it. But it's one of those things where you need to get into the operational discipline of just logging all of those logins and passwords and reset procedures, just so you have it all in one place and you have a chance to recover.
So, so I'm thinking about QuickBooks. Is it, and again, I'm sorry, I haven't used QuickBooks in a while. They would have a download process where you could keep your records as well in case something crashed or.
Yes,
Okay.
most.
I'm sure most small businesses don't think of the fact that they should download
Yeah,
or
they might
copy
not think
that.
of needing to do that, but that's
Yeah.
probably a good idea to just put it in your to-do list to do it once a month or once a quarter or whatever you're comfortable with. That's the buzzword is recovery point objective. How far, if you had to recover back some period of time, how far are you comfortable with losing? Is that a week, a month, a day?
Yeah.
So that's how often you need to be taking these backups.
Okay. All right. Is there any other area of security that, especially a small business, should be worried about?
There's certainly things that are very industry specific. If you're in the healthcare industry, you've got HIPAA regulations around privacy. If you're a defense industry subcontractor, you're going to have other security constraints. It's not just the top secret national security things, but there's a slew of new regulations around classified uncontrolled information, CUI, which is a new category of information that needs to be protected, and you need to have controls in place. And there are a whole slew of procedures for reporting on this. And if you don't report correctly, that can cause you all sorts of problems with your potential customers. You don't want to do that.
Okay. I think another thing that I'm thinking all the things security wise, I think that especially because it happens so much, and I feel like you hear more about it with elderly people, but there's a lot of scams out there, and people are hacking into even large corporations. Every so often you hear that somebody hacked in and took everybody's social security number and things like that. It's not just that. Sometimes I think I wish these people would just go get a real job because obviously they're very smart. They should be doing something to help the world, but they aren't. But I think that local businesses should be aware of these types of things because just because the large corporations are a bigger target and all of that doesn't mean that it won't be simple for them to hack a small company.
Yes. And it's the motivation of the hackers is there are all sorts of different people out there. And you may not be the direct target when you're being hacked. Somebody may be hacking you in order to get to one of your customers or clients. And that's something else you need to think of. It's these sorts of things daisy chain around. And the attacks have been progressing up the protocol stack. Generally, people have, certainly larger enterprises tend to have regulatory incentives to do a better job around cybersecurity. If you're a public corporation, you've got Sarbanes-Oxley regulations. The board's responsible for having some cybersecurity response in place. And so they have those things there. Smaller corporations, you may not have quite the same well-known incentives, but if you get hacked, you may have reporting obligations depending on what systems you've got and what information you keep and so forth. And so the point is that the sophistication of the hacks, as big enterprises have been hardening their systems, and those tools are available to smaller companies as well. You may not like the price points, but what's happened is that the attackers go where it's easier, which means they go up the protocol stack as you harden the lower layers. And so that becomes more about social engineering and other forms of misrepresentation targeting the humans in the loop rather than the automated systems. And the advent of AI systems makes that easier to generate is the problem for a lot of folks at the moment. So there's three buzzwords in this space to bring up. One is deepfakes, second is data suppression, and the third is data poisoning. Deepfakes, you've probably all experienced searching on YouTube videos of your favorite political opponent in some inappropriate situation. Now, you all enjoy a good joke on political opponents. It gets more serious when there are things like revenge porn and all sorts of far less salubrious activities that get sent out. But it's not just the image shock value. There are other deepfake misrepresentations that have been appearing. So there are, for example, I came across one of the YouTube channels that I do follow. This particular creator discovered that somebody else had cloned his voice and was creating a similar content channel. So this is a problem. It's, yes, you could try and take some legal action if you could find them and if you're big enough to support the legal action, etc. But most small businesses really aren't. You need to think about how you're going to protect your business from being impersonated by deepfakes, I guess is one thing. And if you're in the content generating business, you need to think about how you're protecting your content. The other example is you have had a number of deepfakes that have been targeting executive level interactions. There was a case of a Hong Kong company where some of the C-suite executives from that company were in a video conference online, and all of the other participants online were AI generated, and they were being scammed.
Oh,
And
oh my
there were
gosh, that's
potentially millions
huge.
of dollars of damages at stake there, right? So just think about it. If the CEO of a Fortune 500 company
Yeah.
could get scammed in this way, certainly scams could be like this, could be targeted at a local mom and pop type operation. There's I'm going to suggest you could get all sorts of clever tools to try and fight the AI arms race, but this is where the mom and pop local businesses have an advantage. You can know your customer. You can go and shake their hand.
Yeah.
Find an out of band channel to validate what they're doing, and use common sense about what you're getting involved in. Data suppression is the inverse problem. So instead of getting spurious stuff thrown at you, it's people masking information that you would be otherwise interested in. So the benign example of these things is the sort of reputation guard services that lots of folks have. If you've got a name that's similar to somebody else and they have some legal issue, you might want to hire one of these services to push your results up and theirs down when people are searching in your area. And that has some cost and some arguable effectiveness when people are searching for your name. But as people are more and more using AI chat tools to look for things, it's much less obvious how to do that kind of thing. And so that was the benign case. And then there's the more malicious ones where people are deliberately trying to suppress information. The simpler examples are political disputes. One person's freedom fighter is another person's terrorist. I don't want to get into that debate. And that's probably not your local business has to worry about that, but there may well be other reasons why people are trying to deliberately or otherwise suppress certain bits of data. Even government statistics gets lots of corrections over time, right? You think of things from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, for example, and if you're relying on those numbers to do your forecasts and they keep getting adjusted, then you need to take that into account.
The new reality, huh?
That's the reality. And data poisoning is a more sophisticated attack that's usually targeted to AI systems. It could be done to other systems as well. Basically, in this case, the data insertion or deletion is not targeted to you directly. It's targeted as the input data to this upstream system, usually an AI system. So if the training data for your AI system has been manipulated in some way, how would you know? And how do you respond to that? And for most small businesses, this is not something you can easily check or verify. Really, all you have to rely on is trying to get some provenance assertions or some comfort level in whatever contracts you have with your upstream supplier. That's probably difficult given the terms of service on most AI online tools. You don't have a lot of negotiating wiggle room, but read those terms and understand what you're getting into and think about how to respond in those cases.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to like maybe not dive in as deeply as you know this information, but just keep up with the trends, is there a good way of doing that?
So there are also things you could do. You could do just something as simple as a Google alert on the kinds of things you're worried about, and you can try and even target it to your industry or your locality. There are books and websites. I have a book on data supply chain security, which I'm happy to recommend to people. And then there's a lot of more detailed things that would be provided by either the folks that provide security tools, things like that, that may well be quite educational in some ways.
Okay, so we'll have a link to your book below, just in case somebody would really like to dig into this. I tell you what, expand for me about your book. Give me more, like, what kind of information am I going to get from it?
So the book starts out talking about data governance, and do you have some sort of data governance program? And if so, is it really set up to handle these emerging threats like data suppression, deepfakes, and so forth? Because these threats are really, they've been around for a couple of years, but they've really been escalating this year. And so it's not something that lots of folks, even if they have some sort of governance program in place, it probably doesn't handle these kinds of threats. And if you're a smaller business, you may not even have a governance program in place. So that's, if you don't have a governance program in place, I suggest you get one. There are lots of consultants that can help you with that. If you need a fractional CTO or something to help you do that, depending on the scale of your business, that would make sense. There are consultants that will set something up for you suited to your needs. So data governance is one big thing. The other topic is around threat modeling. So data governance really has a couple of different aspects. One is to understand the threats, and then the other is to understand what the risk is to your business. There's a couple of different ways to model threats. They typically go by acronyms like STRIDE or LINDUN or DREAD. There's a whole series of different tools. I think Microsoft even has a somewhat automated set of tools as well. But generally, they're going to ask you a series of questions about what your systems are and how you manage them and try to identify what kinds of things can go wrong.
Okay.
Some of them focus more on what could go wrong. Some of them focus more on what's the attack vectors or the potential attack vectors coming in and so forth. The other side of data governance is the risk management piece of, now you know all these bad things can happen. How likely are they to happen? And what's the blast radius when they do? And so that's really the business decision that your small business leaders need to understand and be involved with. You've got to have some comfort level with what systems you do and what systems you don't do. It's generally these things insert some sort of layers of process review and approval into your business processes, so there's some overhead to doing things. And if you take it to the absurd limit, you become so overburdened by this that you never get anything else done. So that's really the balance that you have to strike as a small business leader is, you've got a bunch of worrying things, but how much time and money and effort should you spend on this? And what you do spend on it, is it really hitting the most important things? So as a small business, you may not be the number one target for state-sponsored terrorism, but some random ransomware that's getting forwarded around could well end up in your back door somehow, and that can still have lots of consequences. And that kind of thing has impacted small businesses, it's impacted local governments, it's impacted other companies that initially you may not think of, but they could have a significant impact on their customers. So if I think back to the pandemic period, there was some of this ransomware going around, and one of these hit the Colonial Pipeline company, which essentially turned off the gas in several states. It wasn't that big of a company, but the impacts were certainly felt by a lot of consumers. Yeah, depending on the services you provide, that makes you more of a target, and you want to be taking bigger measures.
Yeah. So I guess basically what it breaks down to is that we live in an evil world, and there are people out there that are going to try to get whatever they can, any way they can. And so we just need to be aware that, yes, there is no guaranteed safety with internet items, but you need to take as much caution as you can. So any closing thoughts, Dr. Wright?
No, I think the general thing I'd leave people with is just to be on their guard and just use common sense and a bit of business acumen, because a lot of these things you just need to be careful that you don't get caught up in the enthusiasm of some new proposal and just double think, is how realistic is this
Yeah,
that I'm being offered? How can I validate this? How can I check what's going on?
yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Wright. So I will have his contact information below as well as a link to his book. If you like this information, make sure to watch this video because I don't know which side, don't remember which side it comes up on. So make sure to watch this video to help you grow your business and keep it safe. All right. Thanks, Giants. Have a great day.
Thank you.
But the friend chimed in and said to him that our status, we had to go online with a website. So within a year, the businesses that get online early were pulling ahead. The ones that waited lost ground and had to play catch up. The next big shift was online marketing. That was like email, Google search, social media, and the same story every single time. The businesses that jumped in early grew. The ones that stayed behind stayed behind. So right now, I am watching it happen again, except this time it is moving faster than any of those previous shifts did. And most local service businesses, especially the good ones, the ones doing real work for real people in their communities, are invisible to it. Not because they're doing anything wrong, just because nobody is telling them that the change is happening and how quickly it is happening. So I want to share a story not long ago when someone needed a plumber or an HVAC tech, any service, any local business, they would open Google and they would see a list of 10 businesses on the first page. They would scroll through those businesses, read a few names, click around. Your business had a chance to really be found. Well, that world is changing quickly and quietly. And most local service businesses just have no idea. Here's something that makes local search completely different from any other kind of marketing. When someone types best plumber near me or HVAC company in Raleigh, they are not doing research for the next month. They have a problem, a leaking tap, their heater isn't working. They need someone now, today, like in the next hour. If you're not showing up where they are looking right now, you do not get a second chance. They are not coming back next week and searching again and hope your name appears. They found someone else and the job is gone. That is what makes getting this right so urgent and so valuable. Today, 60% of all searches happening through AI. So that's ChatGPT, Siri, Alexa, Google's own AI mode. And by the end of the year, that is expected to hit 80%. But here's the part that changes everything. AI does not give your customer a list. It gives them one, maybe three answers, and that is it. If that answer is your competitor, the call goes to them every single time. And you never even know the person was looking. How many of you have a competitor right now who you know is not doing better work than you, but seems to be getting more calls? That's exactly what we're talking about. Now, I've watched this exact shift happen before with websites, with Google, with email marketing. Every single time the business that moved first pulled ahead, the ones that waited some years try to catch up. The good news, and this is really good news, is that most of your competitors have not figured this out yet. The businesses that get set up now are going to own those spots, and the window to be one of them is still open. So I appreciate you listening in today. That already puts you ahead of most of your competitors who are still waiting to find out. So let me show you exactly what AI is looking for, because once you understand this, everything clicks. Before we go any further, I want you to do something. Get out your phone or a piece of paper. We're going to do a quick calculation together because I want you to see the consistent bookings are actually worth to your business. So first off, answer this question. What is the average job value? How much do you bring in an average job? Write that number down. So how many additional clients per month would make a real difference? Would 2 or 3 make a real difference? Write that down. Now multiply the 3 or 4 or how many of our clients you wrote, the average job value times 12. And that is your AIV, your agreed implementable value. That is what consistent bookings are worth to you per year. All right. Now hold that number in your mind for the rest of our time together, because everything I'm going to show you is designed to get you that number consistently. Not just in a good month, but every month. How many people here would like to add that consistency without working more hours or spending more money on ads? So AI runs a 4-point checklist before it recommends any business. If you fail even one of these, you're invisible. All right, so here they are. Number 1, consistency. AI checks whether your name, address, and phone number, often referred to as NAP, are identical everywhere online. Your website, Google, Yelp, all the directories you're listed. A small difference like writing out street or abbreviating street confuses AI, and a confused AI does not recommend you. So think about this. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that your information is consistent everywhere online? The second point is your website structure. AI needs to be able to read your website and understand it in seconds. What do you do? Where do you do it? And who do you serve? Most local business websites are built to look good and pretty to the people. But AI is not a person. If it cannot read your site clearly, you do not exist. So I have a client, a plumber, good guy, in business for 18 years. He had just invested in this beautiful new website, very professional, lots of pictures. We ran his AI visibility score and he failed almost completely on all points. The homepage was 90% images and almost no readable text. AI could not understand what he did or where he worked. His competitor with a simpler, older website was getting recommended in his market because that website was structured the right way. He was not losing because of his work, he was losing because of his website structure. So we fixed it, and within 60 days, new calls were coming in from people who had found him through AI search consistently. So the third point is trust signals. AI looks for evidence that real people trust your business. And what that means is reviews, but also how recent they are, whether you respond to them, and whether your business appears in trusted local sources. So a business with 40 recent responded to reviews can outrank one with 400 old reviews. Recency and engagement matter more than volume. So when did you last get a new review? Was it last week? Last month? Last year? So the fourth signal is content. Content that answers real questions. So AI looks for content that answers the actual questions your customers are asking before they call anyone. This actually replaces like the old blog theory, where you would write long articles for SEO stuffed with all kinds of keywords. Now you need very more concise, short content that answers exact questions people are searching for. AI wants to send people to the most helpful, most knowledgeable businesses in the area. If your website has no answers, AI assumes you are not the expert. All right, remember that number you calculated earlier? You kept it in your head? What consistent bookings are worth to your business this year? Every one of these four signals is a leak in your pipeline. Every signal you're failing is costing you a portion of that number. So if your AIV, I don't know, say it was 36,000 per year, and you're failing two of these four signals conservatively, that's $18,000 a year walking to your competitor. Not because they are better, because they are better set up. So would you like to know exactly which of these four signals your business is failing and get a specific plan to fix them? So you've seen the problem, you've seen what it's costing, you understand the shift that is happening right now. Let me talk to you about the solution. I built something called the Fully Booked Blueprint. It is a complete system, not a tactic, not a tool, but a system that fixes every single one of these four signals and turns your business into one that AI recommends consistently in your market. There are two ways to move forward, and both start in the same place. Path one is my done for you service. My team handles everything, the AI optimization, the content, the follow-up system. You focus on your clients, we focus on filling your calendar consistently. Path two is completely DIY. It takes you through each step for the owner who has a team member who can run it or who wants to learn the system. But here's the thing, I do not just slot anyone into a generic package. Everything I do is custom built around your specific business, your specific market, and what your competition is actually doing, because that's the person we're trying to outdo. So we want to look at exactly what they're doing and up their process a little bit. So the next step is a free 20-minute consultation with me. You and I, one-on-one. In that call, we're going to do an AI visibility report on your business. We're going to look at where you are showing up and where you are not. We're going to look at what your competitors are doing, and we're going to map out a specific plan. And if that plan includes working with me, I would be very honored to do that. If it does not, that's okay too. You will walk away knowing exactly where you stand and what to do about it. Because frankly, I would rather give you that clarity for free than have you leave today with a head full of information and no idea what to do next. One more thing I want to tell you, and this matters to the businesses I work with. I work only with one business per service. So if I'm working with an HVAC company in your town, I'm not taking on another HVAC company in your town. I don't want to compete with myself. And here is what I'm most excited about to tell you, because this is actually where we start. Step one is a plugin that goes directly onto your website. It does three things automatically. It creates an AI-friendly document that tells AI exactly who you are and what you do. It adds AI schema to every page. And AI schema is like a trusted language that AI reads, just so you know what that is. And it builds an FAQ section on each page based on real questions your customers are already asking about that service. And here's the part that makes this different from anything else out there. It checks itself every single week as AI evolves and the questions your customers are asking change. It updates those questions automatically. So you set it once and it just keeps working. Then from there, we build your specific roadmap based on what your competition is actually doing, not a generic plan, but your plan. If your competitors are outranking you because their website content is stronger, we improve your content. If they are showing up higher because they have more reviews and better reviews, we set up an automated review system that builds your reputation. Every next step is determined by what will actually move the needle in your specific market, not generic, nothing wasted. So I'm going to have a link in the description below if you would like to schedule your free AI visibility review. Select a time using that link and we will look at your specific business together. 20 minutes, no pressure, no obligation, just a real plan. All right, so let me also tell you that if you're enjoying this information, make sure to check out this episode of the Giants Helping Giants as well. So I wanted to tell you about a client of mine, an HVAC owner, great as his, great at his craft, but every month he was gambling. He'd have a great summer and then a terrible fall. We built his fully booked blueprint system. 60 days in, he was getting calls from AI search. 90 days in, he told me, and these are his words, I turned down a job a week ago. First time in 10 years I had that luxury. That is what a system does. It does not just get you more calls, it gets you the right calls consistently, and it gives you your life back. So I wanted to share with you today because something in your business may not be consistent. Some months are great, some months are wondering where the next job is. You know the calculations, you know what consistency booking are worth to you. The fully booked blueprint is a done for you or the DIY package is available right now. Please make your free consultation. And it all starts with the same first step. Your free AI visibility, 20 minutes, just you and me. I show you exactly where your business stands. No pressure, no obligation, just a real plan. So I want to leave you with this. Every time technology has shifted how customers find businesses, websites, email marketing, Google, now AI, the businesses that moved first won. The ones who waited spent years trying to catch up. One of my mentors put it simply, it is not your competitors that is going to put you out of business. It's not staying up with technology. So thank you for your time. Congratulations for those who take the next step. The link is below. And I hope you enjoyed this episode.